Congressman Paul, I want to thank you personally and on behalf of the so many servicemen and women that support you and can't really partake in partisan politics. So I had a year and a half left on my enlistment when I found out about what you were talking about, and I just couldn't wait to get out and get involved. So I've been involved in the UNH chapter of Young Americans for Liberty, and it's been a blast. So what I'm hoping you can help me with is, what is the #1 issue that you have been able to make inroads with the apathetic with? I see so many students on campus that just...
People who are apathetic.
Oh, apathetic.
Yeah, what is the single issue that the folks that are generally not interested in politics come to you and say, I heard about this, and I felt...
I don't think there is a single issue unless you pick the general issue of personal liberty. I think once they understand that, and at all the rallies and all the talks I gave, I usually would mention the fact that I think something happened 100 years ago because they took the concept of liberty and chopped it in two. And you had personal liberties over here and civil liberties, and then you had economic liberty over here, and it should be all of one. And we have been taught that if you didn't understand it from the conventional conservative viewpoint and a conventional liberal viewpoint, then you didn't fit in any place. But I think everybody was looking at it and said, you know, I don't think I convert people as much as I sort of open up the door, because I think most of us are born with an instinct to be free people and left alone, and then they feel justified. And I think the fact that people would come out like you and others, and we had larger and larger crowds, that was enough to get people enthusiastic and get energized and participate. So it was catchy. So be careful. This is a catchy philosophy. You'll never be peaceful again. You'll be out there fighting forever.
Well, thank you again, and hope to see you up in the New Hampshire neck of the woods come 2012.
First of all, I'd like to thank Dr. Paul for being Dr. Paul and everything he's done. I'd also like to thank the kind judge here for being the most reasonable Fox News analyst I've ever heard. And although unusual, I'd like to know if I could ask Tom Woods a question.
Yes.
Yes, although you can ask me after, because I'll be out drinking all night.
Oh, well,
but all right, quick one.
very
sure.
quickly, I'd like to know if you find minarchism as a suitable segue to ANCAP society.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, that's why I'm advocating it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's all
Okay.
I wanted to know.
All right. Yes, sir.
Hello, I'm also a lonely libertarian living in New York City. Although...
Oh, but he likes nice long walks on the beach. No, I'm sorry.
I'm from Texas, though, and I've challenged my father. I said, you know, if you help elect Deborah Medina in Texas, I'll move back. So, you know. But my question's to Dr. Paul. You said that you suspect the Federal Reserve is involved in the bailout of Greece. And I wanted to know, what is their motivation for being involved in that bailout? And can you draw any comparisons to the Icelandic situation?
Well, I think the motivation always is to protect the rich and take the money from the poor. And even if they don't do a lot of manipulation with the bailouts, the whole concept of destruction of a currency through inflation, you literally do get rid of the middle class. There's a transfer of wealth to the poor and from the poor and the middle class to the wealthy, because they lose their jobs first and they get eaten up with the inflation. But then when they go in and do the bailouts, then you have, it's probably the same motivation that motivated them to bail out Goldman Sachs. Whoever has the biggest clout gets the most money. And if we're involved, I didn't say I knew that. That was the kind of thing that you could find out, you know, if you had an audit. So I'm sure that there's a lot of individual banks and different companies that would benefit, and that would be a strong motivation.
Okay, yes, ma'am?
I have a question for the judge. You hinted about it when you spoke. What would you do with the Guantanamo detainees?
Well, it's not a matter of what I would do. It's a matter of what the Constitution requires. President Bush was advised that if he took these people to Cuba, the Constitution wouldn't apply, the laws wouldn't apply, federal treaties wouldn't apply, common morality wouldn't apply, and worst of all, those pesky federal judges couldn't enforce the Constitution. Now, Calling something a war doesn't make it a war. There's been no declaration of war. Therefore, the president has no war powers. The Constitution's protections of human beings is not limited to Americans. It specifically addresses persons, all persons. So whenever a person is adverse to the government, like the government is keeping them locked in a box and away from freedom, they have the same constitutional protections as the rest of us, no matter where they are or where the government takes them. All of this says they are entitled to a fair trial before a jury of those in the area in which it is alleged that they caused harm. And if the government can't prove a case against them, or if the government has acquired evidence against them by the most horrific, gut-wrenching, conscience-shocking means, then the government can't keep them, because it is better that evil people go free than that innocent be punished.
Is there a follow-up to that really quick?
Just if you would support a military tribunal instead of continuing to hold them there.
The government doesn't have the authority for military
We didn't have the authority to go there in the first place,
to go where?
to go to war.
So which of the
Well-
two bad alternatives would you prefer?
Right.
I'm sorry, what are the choices? The government has no authority for military tribunals absent the declaration of war. That's not Napolitano, that's the Supreme Court in re Quirin.
Okay,
Starting an unlawful war does not automatically, out of thin air, create war powers.